get this turned. Hey guys, today I'm going to show you my garden here at the shop. This is obviously a commercial industrial area. Probably not the best place for a garden, but we got a little space in the backyard, so I take advantage of the little space I got. And even though most of the garden's dead now, we're at the end of September, I'll still show you what we got here. So the only thing I really got that's doing good is the okra. I just got a pretty good little bag of okra today. It's slowed down quite a bit in the last week, but it's still growing. That one will be ready tomorrow. I got a whole bunch of them that'll probably be ready tomorrow. Some people would probably pick them today, but one more day ought to be nice. With okra, you don't want them to get too big, or they get so tough that you can hardly even eat them. So about one more day's growth on those, and those will be perfect. And I got Brussels sprouts growing over here. I'm not exactly sure how to do Brussels sprouts. They say once your sprout cart comes poking in, then you're supposed to cut the leaves off. So that's what I did. I don't know how far to cut them off. The other ones, you can see I cut them off clear back at the stem, and I don't know if that's doing better or worse. So I don't know. I'm just experimenting with the Brussels sprouts. I've never done them before. And then this jalapeno plant got planted way late, but it's still making some tiny little jalapenos. And let's see, this is where my cucumbers was. I had 3 cucumber plants, and they grew up this fence. And God, I got so many cucumbers. Over 200 cucumbers this year, just off of three or 4 plants. And that's a tomato plant that was just a cutting off of another plant, and so I threw it in the ground there, and it stayed green, but you can see all the buds all summer long, not a single tomato. So for some reason it just wasn't able to pollinate any tomatoes. Some peppers, they did pretty good this year. And this is cherry tomatoes, but this is yellow pear cherry tomatoes. They're doing okay. I didn't put them in a cage, and God, if you don't use a cage, tomatoes just go crazy and they fall out everywhere. And I never did trim these back or anything. I just let them go crazy, and they end up on the other side of the fence where I can't reach them, so the neighbors get some cherry tomatoes. Beans that I planted in the spring, and they didn't, I got 2 harvests off of them before they slowed down for the summer. Now they're turning green again. Might get another harvest off of them before it gets cold. Some turnips back there. This is the 2nd or 3rd time around on the turnips, and I just plant 8 or 10 of them at a time, and then dig them up when they're big enough. This was my glorious squash plant that produced squash all summer long. First time I've ever had a squash plant just produce all summer long without rotting. Usually they get rot in the roots like you see there. And this one didn't happen for 3 months. Usually you get about a month out of your squash plant before that happens and the thing dies. But it's starting to green up again. I bragged on it on Facebook and bragged how good my squash plant was doing, and then like the next day or 2 days later it laid down and died. But now it's starting to green back up again. I won't get any more squash out of it for sure. So this is how I garden at the shop. Just find a place and plant some stuff. I've laid down some stuff here so that next year I can expand a little bit. It'll kill off the grass, and it'll entice the worms into the area to get some nutrition in the dirt over the fall and into the spring. So we'll leave that down over the winter, and then I'll have a little bit more space for some stuff next year if I decide to garden here. It's just a little space back behind the shop, but the dirt here is so good, especially up on this hill. There's just so much air in the dirt. It's not packed real tight, and so the roots just go crazy on this hill, and everything does so well. So that's how I garden here at the shop. I got a nice garden at my house as well. Well, it's kind of small, but it's still doing okay. Half the stuff's kind of died off. This is where I get the water from my worm bin, because you don't ever want to use chlorinated water. So this is kind of weird. This tank, this truck has these tiny little gutters that run along. There's one on the back and then one on the side, and so if it rains, the water comes out those two tiny little gutters and falls down into this little container. I threw some fish in there at the beginning, well, in the springtime, I guess, and they've been doing fine in there. They like it. I feed them twice a day, so they're happy fish. Plenty of space to swim around in. I threw some plants in these little floating things. The fish eat the roots, so they can only get so big, and they're finally starting to die off because it's getting cold. But they stayed green all summer long. It was crazy. And this one here even produced a tomato. So that was just a little something crazy I did, and it actually worked. Kinda. I mean, it helps filter some of the chemicals out of the water for the fish, so that's why I did it. But this was an okra plant, and it just kind of stayed about that size all year. This is, I don't know, I want to say broccoli or something, maybe cabbage. And it just got that big. That's as big as it got, but it stayed alive. And then this tomato. They were just cuttings off of big tomato plants, and so I stuck them in there. And well, when the fish eat all the roots, they can only get so big. But I don't know if I can find something that can grow decent in cold weather. I might put something else in there to try to help filter their water a little bit through the winter time, but likely nothing's going to grow in Kansas winter. So that's just a quick little video of my little plants here at the shop. We'll catch you next time.